Greetings family, peace and love to you and yours. This is Guru and thanks for visiting my channel. This video is about an unfortunate situation that happened to an 86-year-old black man. As you've heard me say in previous videos, unfortunately these race soldiers are attacking and terrorizing black men, women, children, and our senior citizens. And this is just yet another example of what I've said before. Take a moment and check out the video. Let's roll the clip.
An 86-year-old who was tased by police in Kingstree in Williamsburg County 4 days ago is still in intensive care. The police officer says he used his taser to stop the man from being hit by traffic. But Brad Stryker tells us the man's family is upset and wants justice.
Jody Mack will never look at this intersection the same way.
I can't understand. It's not justified.
She's talking about what happened to her father, Albert Chatfield. 4 days ago, Chatfield was stopped by police at this intersection in Kingstree.
He was backing away with his hands up, and then he was tasered.
To find out exactly what happened here, I requested a copy of the police report from the Kingstree Police Department. Unfortunately, no one responded to my request, but I did manage to get a copy of the report from the family's attorney. In it, Officer Swikata reports that Chatfield made several U-turns and ran a red light trying to avoid his patrol car. After Chatfield stopped and got out, he was walking back toward traffic. Swikata says he used the taser because he was worried Chatfield would be hit by that traffic.
This is the place where it happened. I'm devastated by this whole thing.
Devastated, especially because she doesn't think it had to happen.
If you don't see a gun, I don't see it necessary to pull a taser.
Chatfield was taken to the hospital after he was tased. He's been in intensive care ever since. The family says his condition is only getting worse.
Right now, the main concern is Mr. Chatfield.
This is Caesar McKnight, the family's attorney.
There was some carelessness on the part of the police department.
He says they're considering taking legal action, but for now, filing a lawsuit isn't their top priority. They just want to see Chatfield recover.
I'm praying. I'm not hoping. I'm praying that he gets better.
Prayers she hopes are answered soon. In Kingstree, I'm Brad Stryker, Live 5 News.
Possible emails and phone calls to the Kingstree Police Department asking for a comment, the police report, and body cam footage of the incident. No one responded to any of our requests.
So family, Albert Chatfield, an 86-year-old man, is in intensive care after the Kingstree police used a taser against him, an unarmed black motorist. As I said, he is a senior citizen, of course, at 86 years old. Of course, they do not care. An 86-year-old unarmed black motorist in Kingstree was jolted with a taser because the white officer who stopped him worried that the wandering dementia patient would be hit by a car. Well, let's just say this. He might have had a little bit better chance, perhaps, by being hit by a car, maybe because maybe the car would have seen him and slammed on their brakes and not hit him. Maybe the officer wasn't thinking that far ahead. So instead, he thought he'd just tase him. Because after all, that's what they do to black people, is they shoot first, think later. Shoot first, think later. And oftentimes the thinking process doesn't even start then. But I digress. Albert Chatfield remained hospitalized in intensive care Friday, 4 days after being injured during the confrontation in the small town 2 hours north of Charleston, family members said. His loved ones and their attorney bemoaned the officer's use of force as unconstitutional and unnecessary in quarreling an elderly motorist who posed no threat to police. He wouldn't hurt anyone, said his daughter, Jody Mack of North Carolina. He would only make you hurt laughing. Chatfield suffered bleeding on his brain and a broken nose, likely from hitting the pavement when he fell. Family attorney Justin Bamberg of Orangeburg said Friday after speaking with doctors. He was in a medically induced coma earlier this week, and when he awoke, he couldn't speak properly. He only mumbled and cried. The Kingstree Police Department said it would not charge Chatfield because of his medical predicament. An incident report lists a potential crime as, quote, acting disorderly, unquote. The agency did not immediately respond to the Post and Courier's request for video of the episode. In other words, family, there has been no video footage from the police of said incident. I repeat, no video has surfaced yet of this incident. I would like to see some video footage just so we can get the truth. If the officers are true and correct, well, let's just see it on video, and then that'll just be that. I don't understand why people always want to hide the truth. They want to hide it from everyone. It's like people seem to be scared of the truth for some odd reason. Anyways, it says, Police Chief James Barr, again, Police Chief James Barr, released the report but did not promptly answer the Post and Courier's questions about it. Barr told the Kingstree News that Chatfield wanted to, quote, fight the police, unquote, so officers drew their tasers to try and calm him down so they could talk to him. Well, we know how the police treat black people anyways, as I stated before. Black men, black women, black children, and our senior citizens are at risk when it comes to race soldiers. Until we can rid these police departments of the KKK and get rid of these race soldiers and begin to start the healing process and reconciliation, truth and reconciliation, that is, just like they did in South Africa, until that happens here on this soil, to where we can actually get men and women on the police force who can wear the badge with honor and pride and uphold the Constitution and everyone's right, to where we are all getting justice, liberty, and justice for all, as the preamble goes, then our NFL players would start standing and pledging the allegiance with pride, with their hand over their heart, because they know those words would be true and correct. But anyways, I'm sorry I got off the subject there. Anyways, I'm sorry I got off the subject for a minute. But anyways, it says he was tased because he was in a rage and trying to fight in the middle of the highway. He told the newspaper, "We didn't want the man to get hit." So that's what their argument is that they did not want Albert Chatfield, an 86-year-old black man, to get hit in the road. Never mind the drivers being able to see him out there in the road and perhaps be able to stop, especially if they see police cars around and seeing that there's some type of event going on. People tend to slow down and be very careful, but no, they didn't think about that. But anyways, it says that the officer was identified as Stephen Sweikata, that's Sweikata, who worked for 2 years at the Charleston County Sheriff's Office before his hiring by Kingstree in April, state records show. University of South Carolina law professor Seth Stroughton, a former officer, said Kingstree's explanation of the encounter draws a conclusion about why force was used without giving necessary details to support it. Stoughton called the case problematic. Quote, "The court has been very clear that officers can use tasers to defend themselves or defend someone else who is being attacked," he said. "I have yet to see an officer who would legitimately fear your average unarmed 86-year-old man," unquote. Scrutiny of police use of force, particularly against black people, has spread nationwide in recent years. Much attention was focused on shootings, including the 2015 killing of Walter Scott by a North Charleston officer. Chatfield's experience highlights a lack of training on the law, his family's attorney said. Quote, if you cannot restrain an 86-year-old, you need to eat some spinach, said Bamberg, a state lawmaker who also represented Scott's family. Quote, it's unconstitutional to tase someone just because they're not listening. Plus, he's 86 years old. Unquote. So before I close off this video, let me give you a little bit of history about Albert Chatfield, the man himself. Befitting his name, Chatfield is a talkative fixture of his Williamsburg County neighborhood. He spent his early years in Miami, where he ran chicken takeout joints, his daughter said. He moved to South Carolina to be closer to his family and helped build a church here. He's resilient. He lost belongings in 2 storms, Hurricane Andrew in Florida and in 2015, rainstorm in Kingstree, where he awoke one day to crayfish and a dog paddling through floodwater in his house. But he keeps smiling, his daughter said. Quote, he's always been the go-to person in our family, Max said. He keeps us laughing. His health declined in recent years. He lost his wife. He fought lung cancer. Dementia set in. On Sunday night, he slipped into a bout of confusion. He called loved ones, saying he feared for his safety. Sheriff deputies got involved and reported to Mac that he would be okay until the next day, when she would come to town. But about 7:45 a.m. Monday, dispatchers fielded a call from someone described in Kingstree police report as an unknown complainant who said a Ford SUV was tailgating another vehicle, somehow not allowing that vehicle to turn. Sweet Kata, the police officer, was patrolling the area and reported seeing a Ford Expedition do a U-turn as if to escape his police car. When Swakata turned on his cruiser's blue lights, he said the Ford pulled a 360 degree turn. The SUV soon ran a red light but stopped at Main Street and Brook Streets where Chatfield got out. Swetkata and Lieutenant Carl Scott, who is black, told him to get on the ground. Quote, Chatfield ignored all of the orders and took up a fighting stance against myself, Swetkata said in the report. Chatfield then started jogging, walking backwards in the lanes of traffic. Swetkata said he then fired his taser because traffic was still moving, and I was afraid that Mr. Chatfield would be struck by a vehicle had he continued. The officers did not explain Chatfield's combative posture, but Stroughton, the law professor, noted their statement that Chatfield had started to back away. They might have been able to use other means to restrain him, Stroughton said. Tasers are just very easy to use, he said. They can be very effective weapons, but they can also be very dangerous. Well, yes, that's the case in this man's life, because he's fighting for his life because of this so-called police officer using his hands and a weapon against an old man instead of using his brains. Anyways, this is Guru. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope Mr. Albert Chatfield pulls through for himself and also for his family. This is Guru. Peace and love, and see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.